understand you're the spiritual, a lot of the ego things start to dissipate. And what are the ego things is, I need to be right, you need to do what I say my way, and I cannot listen to another idea or opinion that doesn't agree with mine. How many times have we seen that? And how destructive is that? And if we just raise ourselves a little bit in consciousness, we raise ourselves to a more spiritual level, what happens? On that spiritual level, we can listen a little better. We can be a little more open. Our false ego kind of dissipates enough energy to allow us to connect more deeply with people, to develop better relationships. One of the most powerful things in any organization, any group or any company or corporation is the team, how well the team works together. And false ego is really a huge impediment in bringing people together. So you can do team building exercises, but what you need to do is ego deflating exercises. Team building exercises without ego deflation, it just is not going to be effective. Because that's the problem, that when you deflate the ego, people get along. I want to tell you two stories. These are really important stories because they actually come from real life. And I don't like to teach a lot of theoretical stuff. I like to teach what I've seen. I like to teach what works in the real world. So what I've seen over and over and over and over again is where relationships are good, organizations succeed. Where in some organizations they're just good, it's just the right people and they all like one another. In other organizations they work on the relationship. But whenever there are bad relationships, often I see is the people only relate in the business environment. They never relate any other way. Whereas if you do things where people relate more in a leisurely or recreational way, they bond more deeply. And when they bond more deeply, obviously relationships get better. And when relationships get better, people work better together. They like working with one another. So for example, there was one company and there was a lot of strife and difficulty. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. One department doesn't get along with the other department. One person doesn't get along with the other person. So what the CEO of that company decided to do was invite everyone to come for breakfast every day. Don't eat at home, come to the company, I'll pay for the breakfast. It's a small company, so they could do that, about 30 people. He didn't try to do any kind of team building exercises. He didn't do any kind of training in communication and trust and this and that. He didn't try to teach any principles about working together and so forth. He just brought them together and had them have breakfast every day. He did that for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, every relationship problem was solved without any training, without any intervention, just by relating to one another on the level of friendship in a more relaxed environment in which there was no discussion of anything about business, just personal talk. Another friend, similar environment, he manages a company, and I said, what do you do to deal with this disharmony, this lack of cooperation? He said, I took them out camping, and every night we put different people together, so everybody got to know one another really well. And when you get to know somebody, generally, you get to like them. You see the good in them. And when you get to like somebody, what happens? You work much better with them. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, if I don't like somebody, it just means I need to get to know him. So, really, really important. And what you'll find is when you deal with relationships very personally, out of the hierarchy, just on camping or at breakfast, nobody's up here, nobody's down here. You create an ego-free environment, and when you create an ego-free environment in an organization or a company, things just take off.